Good evening. Chapter 6, Justice. That's what we're here to talk about. Sorry, had to sneeze. Alright, so we're going to talk first about the original position argument. Basically, if you're placed behind a veil of ignorance, you don't know what color skin you have, you don't know what your religion is, what type of money you make, what type of family you come from, what type of house you're going to live in, you don't know any of that. The only thing you know is that these are 5 different types of societies that we could choose to live in. According to Rawls, basically he states that utilitarianism would get rejected based on the principle that anybody who's in the minority is going to face a lot of strife and tribulations that they may not want to face, and so to avoid that they would naturally choose not to do that. Again, not knowing what position they stand in, it's the fact that they could stand in that position which makes them not choose that. Feudalism. There are things like feudalism that are in existence today. If you want a good example of that, go look at India and their caste system. It's ridiculous. Solely based off of, what are you born into? Were you born noble? Were you born not noble? Were you born a peasant? If you come from poor folks, then guess what? You're going to get treated poorly your whole life. So that gets scratched off the list instantly. What about libertarianism? We kind of have that here in this country. I mean, not necessarily to the extent that most libertarianisms would want it, but that's basically what we have. We've learned from living that creates extreme, drastic differences in wealth. 1% of the population owns 99% of the wealth currently, while the other 99%, we own 1% of the wealth. That gets scratched off too, because nobody wants to have to endure the suffering. What about strict egalitarianism? Everybody gets the same amount of everything. I think the book does a great job of explaining why that's not necessarily fair, because you got people like Bill Gates and Michael Jordan and Jeff Bezos who are going to contribute something phenomenal to this world that benefits everybody, but under that particular mode of government, there'd be nothing for it. I really think that you would stamp out people having drive and ambition, and I really think that as a society, we would progress a lot slower because of that. What's the point of being tenacious if it's not going to get you anything? Property owning democracy is where this lands on, and honestly, a lot of the things about the property owning democracy sound great to me. Everybody's going to be treated equal. We're all going to get to go to great schools. We're all going to have food in our bellies and a roof over our head, and we're all going to have the opportunity to be successful individuals. There is the difference principle, which basically states that if you're somebody like Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or Michael Jordan and you contribute something significant to the society, you are going to get more than the others, but as long as that benefit is also transcended down to the least well-off individual. So even the least well-off is going to get something from your ideas and your success, which I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea, because what I love about this philosophy is that it's naturally leaning towards helping your neighbors and loving one another and supporting one another, and I just think that it would overall create a better society. Nobody's going to have a reason to go rob and cheat and lie and steal or anything like that if they're getting plenty of money, even if they're at the very bottom of this list. One moment. The intuitive argument, I mean, basically it's that you're going to be successful based off of your effort and not off of anything that you were born with. I don't like the intuitive argument, because for an individual who's born like Albert Einstein and has an IQ of, super high, versus somebody like myself that I'm sure is just average, yeah, those individuals may have an easier time finding success with certain things like mathematics and, discovering and maybe even being accepted to NASA or something like that based off their ability to solve problems very quickly. This society kind of shuns on that. Oh, well, we're going to base it off of your merit, so we want to try to figure out a way to take away your advantages. Or, athletes, people who are naturally gifted, they're fast and they're strong, and that's no reason to discriminate against them, and I personally feel that it is discrimination to an extent, so I really don't like the intuitive argument. As far as working my way through a political thing right now behind the veil, let's pick deforestation, just because I'm sitting out here and I got all these woods around me. Is it okay to clear large lots of land even though there's wildlife inhibited in there? Well, behind the veil of ignorance, utilitarianism would say, does it benefit the majority of the people? What about the minority? Um, I don't think that anybody would necessarily pick that one right away, just because of the fact that yeah, it benefits some people, but we also have to keep in mind what it does to our planet. Um, Feudalism it would be a case system as to whoever is higher up gets to pick and choose what actually happens with deforestation. Libertarianism, I think that's basically just saying, yes, go clear all the land that you want, and however much you can clear, you get to have. Strict egalitarianism, everybody has to clear the same amount of land or can only clear the same amount of land, so that doesn't really work because of the fact that the individuals who own these companies, they'll never be able to grow bigger than their competitors because of the fact that they can only clear X amount of land. Property owning democracy, if it's going to benefit everybody else, then that's kind of what needs to happen. Or if it's going to harm everybody else, then it's going to have to be stopped. So I think that in that case, that property owning democracy would probably prevail as well. This is a really interesting lecture. I'm sorry I went over on my time. Thanks for watching.